Yeah, I knew that. Did you know also that the Queen's venom is 10 times as potent? Your eyes widen in shock as she grins malevolently at you, her fangs gleaming under the crystal light. Yes, my venom won't just turn you on. You'll be so hard and your balls will be so full that you'll be nothing more than a horny little animal. You'll want nothing more than to ravage me and pour all your delicious love into me, over and over again. Won't that be fun? She slowly inched herself closer, baring her fangs as she closed the distance. You turned your head away out of instinct, not thinking clearly enough to realize that's exactly what she wanted. In a quick flash, you felt a searing pain in your neck as Chrysalis sunk her teeth into you. You shout in pain before you feel the venom entering your body, and with your heart racing, you knew that the venom was now coursing through your entire body. You could already feel the heat rising, the blood pumping, and the good portion of it heading south. Your hormones were skyrocketing, and with them, your dick was becoming harder, thicker, and veinier than ever before, and your balls felt like they were swelling up to the size of oranges. Chrysalis retracted her fangs and pulled herself away, sitting up on her knees, straddling your chest as she looked down at your lust-addled form. She laughed as she watched you squirm, the venom running its way through your system. You grit your teeth, growling like a rabid beast. The venom was strong, but your will was stronger still. Gah, this venom is no joke, I swear. I just want to stick this stiff thing inside her and turn her insides out. But first, I gotta get free. Chrysalis giggled lightly as she watched your body tremble under the effects of her venom. She looked over her shoulder and saw your rock-hard phallus twitching and throbbing erratically, gushing a steady stream of pee down its shaft. She pressed her round ear back against your dick, pressing it between her cheeks and rubbing it against them. You groan under the sensation of her plump-ass cheeks rubbing against your overly sensitive member, while you try your best to control your urges. Not bad, you commented, staring into your eyes. It's one thing to fight my pheromones, but another to fight my venom. You should be nothing but a horny, drooling mess, but you're still resisting. I'm going to enjoy breaking you. Hearing that last part seemed to finally set you off, and with your body working itself into overdrive, your adrenaline finally kicks in, giving you the final strength you needed. With a loud yell and a strong tug, a loud crunch echoed through the room, as the posts that were tied to your right arm and your left leg finally gave way. Chrysalis shrieked in surprise and fear as the canopy came down atop the two of you, and in that moment of confusion, you quickly pulled your other limbs free. The strange goo still wrapped around your wrists, but now free from the dismantled bedpost. You pulled yourself out of the silky veil and looked around until you spotted a struggling lump moving around underneath them. You quickly grabbed the cloth and pulled it, revealing a startled Chrysalis staring up at you. She chuckled slightly, the look of justified fury obviously striking some fear into her. Okay, so you managed to get loose, she said nervously, slowly beginning to back away from the bed. I certainly did not expect that. Oh, I'm sure you didn't. You glare down at her as you slowly follow her. You think you can just tie someone down, humiliate them, and think there won't be any repercussions if they break free? Chrysalis watched you with fear as you grabbed the veil in your hand and slowly wrapped it around them. And before she knew what was going on, you pounced on her. She screamed, struggling to break free, but you weren't having any of it. You would have your revenge, and when all was said and done, you stood up and looked down at your handiwork. Chrysalis was lying on her back. Her arms were bound behind her back, securely tied with a thick, torn portion of the silk veil. Well, 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 how the tables have turned, he chuckled, glaring down at her with a toothy smirk. How dare you treat a Changeling Queen so disrespectfully? She growls at you. Release me this instant. No, don't worry. I'll release you as soon as I get mine. You tell her, your massive hard-on twitching anxiously. Chrysalis gasps as you quickly straddle her midriff, placing your dong just under her massive chest. Get off of me, you overgrown ape, she demanded. That's not a very nice way to treat a hero, now, is it? You ask quite calmly, your right hand drifting down to her right breast as you do so. Your fingers now inches away from the thin and black fabric, trying to hide her perky nipple. Where's the respect? Your fingers quickly grasped her nipple through the bra and tightly pinched it, causing the queen to shriek at the sudden roughness. You continued to twist and pull at the fleshy nub, watching the ebony beauty ride underneath you. Not so much fun when you're the one on the receiving end, huh? You inquire. Your eyes quickly wander to her breast's lonely twin, and not wanting it to feel left out, you reach over with your free hand and pinch her remaining nipple between your fingers, earning a slight moan. No, stop. It hurts, she pleaded. That's interesting, you reply with a mocking tone. You say that, but I can feel your nipples getting harder and harder between my fingers. Does the lovely queen of changelings like it rough? What? That's ridiculous. You think you could possibly make me feel good like this? She snapped back. Big talk coming from a woman who's moaning from her nipples being twisted so roughly, you stated, giving both her pink buttons a hard twist. A loud, earnest moan escapes Chrysalis's mouth, her cheeks burning bright red, both from pleasure and embarrassment. You couldn't help but smile while watching the defenseless queen writhe and struggle beneath you, especially with the tantalizing view of her jiggling breasts, bouncing wonderfully as she moved. But despite the fun you were having by teasing her, your dick was still painfully hard, and you couldn't hold off any longer. You needed to come, and the queen was going to assist you, whether she liked it or not. You released her nipples from your grasp to quickly grab the bikini top and tear it from her form, revealing her wonderful bosoms. You then took a hold of her breasts, your fingers easily melting into the dark mounds of flesh. Chrysalis moaned as you started groping and fondling them, her body squirming and her legs crossing, desperate to contain the excitement that was slowly beginning to drip down from her legs. Then you leaned in closer, planting your cock between her breasts, splatting your built-up pre between them. Chrysalis stopped struggling as she felt your member resting against her body, the musky smell of your member now assaulting her senses. She quickly averted her head to the side as she told you, "Get that thing off of me!" You didn't have any problems touching it with your feet a while ago, you stated as a cheeky grin spread on your face. Is it because you enjoy using your feet more than your breasts? How dare you! She snapped, glaring up at you. My breasts are the softest, supplest mounds you'll ever have. The pleasure of touching. Poets can't even begin to describe the ecstasy they feel when I use them. Well, I may not be a poet. Let me take a stab at it. Then we'll see if you're right. With that settled, you closed the valley of flesh, wrapping them snugly around your member. You couldn't help but shudder at the overall softness. It felt as though your dick was melting between her busts, and all it did was stir you up even more, quickly causing you to thrust almost sporadically. You groaned at the amazing fullness of her chest. There was barely a single moment your dick wasn't lost in the bountifulness of her cleavage. Holy shit. You weren't kidding. This feels amazing. Told you, Chrysalis said, her haughty tone returning. Many a male would give an arm or a leg just to touch my beautiful bosom. Count yourself lucky. If that's what they would give to touch your chest, I wonder what they'll give to have their cock in your mouth. Excuse me? The queen was cut off as you grabbed her horn, pulling her face down and jamming the head of your cock into her warm, wet mouth. You sighed contentedly as you felt the softness of her lips wrapping themselves around the first few inches of your cock. You firmly held onto her horn, keeping her in place as you continued thrusting into both her chest and her mouth, of which the muffled cries of resistance, which fell on deaf ears, merely vibrated against your head, making the forced fellatio feel even better. What's that? I can't hear you over the sound of you sucking my dick. You mocked her openly. If you want this to stop, you better start working that pretty mouth of yours into a more productive manner. She glares up at you, but realizes that she has no real choice. And then you feel her begin sucking and rolling her tongue around your member. You bite your lip, chuckling in your throat at how wonderful it all feels. Her breasts, her mouth, her tongue, they were all incredible. All the while, you could feel Chrysalis getting more and more into it, her sucking and licking becoming more eager and earnest. You loosen your grip on her horn, letting her suck you off on her own. Look at you, sucking me off like a good little whore, you said in a haughty tone of your own, a familiar pressure stirring up in your loins. You actually love sucking my dick. Huh. She replies, almost hypnotically. Want me to come in your mouth, to fill your wet hole with my sticky cum? She answers, sucking your dick with great vigor. With that out of the way, you start thrusting harder, feeling your climax getting closer and closer as Chrysalis sucked your member with great fervor, trying to push you over the edge. The pressure finally reached its peak, but just as you were about to shoot your payload, you pulled your member free from Chrysalis's oral cavern. The changeling's eyes widened in both surprise and fear. No, what are you? Her sentence ended there as you groaned, shooting a thick rope of seed across her face, causing her to gasp in surprise before another shot came and plastered her cheek, followed by another that landed on her chin. You pointed your still ejaculating member down, shooting the rest of your load onto her chest. After a few more moments, your first load was finally spent, but your dick was still hard as ever. You take a moment to catch your breath before you hear Chrysalis moaning in disappointment. You look at her as she looks herself over, seeing your sticky white cream dripping off her dark skin. How could you? I've never met a male so wasteful before, she snapped at you. All that love just dripping off of me. You know what they say, don't cry over spilt milk. You chuckle as you move yourself from her body, but she continues to sneer at you. Don't worry, you're still playing more where that came from, and I'll give it to you nice and proper this time. She yelps in surprise as you quickly turn her over and pull her ass up in the air, gazing at her nice micro bikini. It was more than visibly wet. Her beautiful pink pussy glistened underneath and dripping onto the bed. And to think that you were taken so high and mighty just a little while ago, but you're practically drooling down here. You tease her, running a finger against the bikini, digging into her supple lips. Chrysalis shrieked and shivered from your tender caress, your finger quickly becoming drenched in her nectar. Don't tease me like that, she told you, looking over her shoulder and shaking her hips invitingly. Come on, just shove it in. You know you want to. You're right, I do. You nod firmly in agreement, making your way behind her, scooting forward on your knees, grabbing your member and gently rubbing the head against her soaking flower. Chrysalis's body tensed up for a moment before pushing her hips back, trying to force your dick in on her own. You want my dick that badly? Yes, please. I want it inside. Ram it in hard. Remember, You asked for it.